end of the last video, we were just finishing with saying that a 360-degree turn is where our x and y are unchanged. This video won't be too long. We're just going to make sure we get down all your rules so that you have these down. So the rotation rules, and this is always for counterclockwise, so think about going counterclockwise around a clock. You are going around this way, the opposite way of the numbers on a clock, counterclockwise. So a 90-degree counterclockwise is how we're going to write this. CCW, counterclockwise, which means we're going in this direction. Then we're going to have 180, and a 180-degree turn really isn't going to matter if it's clockwise or counterclockwise. Then we're going to have 270 degrees counterclockwise. And our last one is going to be a 360 degree counterclockwise. And again, that one's not going to matter either. Now, the two easiest ones to do if we are looking at these is as we are starting with our points, if we always start with our original being x, y. So we're going to put that for each one. Everyone always starts at the original point, wherever that happens to be, in whichever quadrant, and we're going to always call that our xy coordinate. And it is always going to change now as we are looking at that. So what does our xy change to? Remember the first one, when we did our 90 degrees counterclockwise, we set up above, they switch around, so we're going to have y with x, and the first one becomes the opposite. The nice thing about the next one with the 180 is that the ordered pair stays in the same order, x and y, but they both become opposite, so negative x and negative y, if we are talking about that, or the opposite if you want to write it that way. So negative or opposite. As we look at the next one that we are looking at, when we are looking at 270, again, what happens to our coordinates? They switch around, so it becomes y and x. But this time, instead of the first one becoming the opposite, like in a 90, the second one becomes the opposite, so negative x. And our last one, everything is going to stay exactly the same. So if we are looking at that, our last one stays the same, and that means that we're going to have x comma y. Now, this 270-degree turn is also later referred to us by a 90 degrees clockwise. So 90 degrees clockwise is going to be the same as a 270 counterclockwise. Make sure if you pause the video to make sure everyone has these rules down, and then we're going to try plotting them. So it says take the coordinate plane and rotate it. If we are looking at this, a regular coordinate, rotate it counterclockwise, what would it look like? So we're just going to pick one point. So if I pick this point and I'm looking over at the point 3, 2, we're going to call that our point A. What does that point look like when we rotate it 90 degrees rotation? Now 90 degrees, remember, if it's positive, is always going to be counterclockwise. So if we are looking at it being counterclockwise, remember, we were looking at our coordinate plane, so if we are drawing this, we still have that same coordinate plane, y and x, and here we started at A being at 3, 2, and what happens to our point is we said we switch the x, y, we're going to switch the points around, it becomes y with x, and it becomes opposite. So if it was 3, 2, where's our new point going to be? Our new point is going to be the opposite of that, negative 2, switching them around, and 3. Negative 2 and 3. Yeah, that looks like A prime should be in the right spot. If we go to 180 degree, again, we're going to use that same point, over 3 and up 2. So here's point A. Here's our y-axis and our x-axis. If we're going to rotate it 180 degrees, remember, 180 we said, x, y changes to. Keep them in the exact same order. Opposite x, opposite y. So in this case, if we are looking at that, that point was originally located at 3, 2. It is now going to be at negative 3, negative 2. That'll be our point A prime, and we'll call it A double prime. It's going to be negative 3, negative 2. And the last one, our 270 degree turn, if we are looking at that again, starting at that same point, 3, 2, where we have A being located at 3, 2, What did it say for a 270 degree? If you look at your notes up above, it says we start at x, y. This time we're going to switch the ordered pair around, so it becomes y and x, and the second one becomes the opposite. So if we are looking at our point and we had 3, 2, we now want to switch the ordered pair around, so it is 2 and negative 3. So if we go to 2 and down to negative 3, this would be our a double triple prime. And if we think of this angle, this is our angle that we are doing 270 degrees, so it's less 90. Here, if we're always going through the vertex from A to A double prime, that is a 180 degree turn, and it doesn't matter which way we would turn. Here, if we are looking at A prime to the vertex to A, that is a 90 degree turn that we are looking at. So kind of as you look at those notes, that's kind of where we're looking at. So in your homework, as you do lesson H6 today, kind of put those rules maybe someplace towards the top if they help you. And the rules I'm talking about are the ones that are right in the middle of the page right down here. These are our rules. So these rules are for the counterclockwise, and those should help you out quite a bit as you are doing that tonight in your homework. So take your time and go through it, and you should have this assignment completed. The last two might give you a few problems, but again, just make sure you're doing all the steps. So in the first one, as you look here, it says first you're going to rotate it 90 degrees, and then you're going to reflect. So there's going to be two different things that you'll be working on in that one. As you do the second part B, it says first this time we are going to reflect it over the x-axis, then rotate 90. So when you do that, remember you're always going to use the new coordinates to do that last one. And if you have questions, Mrs. Lee can help you out, Mrs. Opheim, and see you soon.